Hey, what is up guys? How are we doing? And welcome back to another video. Now today I once again want to talk to you about keyboards because I've got this, the Razer Blackwidow Chroma V2. And this keyboard is Razer's flagship. It's been heavily requested from you guys that I review it because of course it's very similar and it goes up against the ROG Claymore and Corsair K95 Platinum. But which keyboard is better? Is this one any good? And is it worth your cash? Well, to answer that question, as always, we once again start with the design of the keyboard, which I think looks really good. It's a full-size board, so it can't be detached into two separate components like on the ROG Claymore, but it looks and feels pretty expensive. There is no flex to the body whatsoever, and the all jet black design lets the RGB talking, and it should fit into pretty much anyone's setup with ease. Now the downside with the design is the fact that there isn't really any metal used, so unlike what you'll find on the K95 and then on the ROG Claymore, you won't find any premium metal materials, which some people will be put off by this. Some people will say that this is a no-no. Personally, I would like to see it here, but it's not necessarily a deal breaker. Now moving to the front of the keyboard though, we have an illuminated RGB Razer logo. This is covered up if you use the included wrist rest, which attaches magnetically, but it's really comfortable, it's got a lot of padding, and I think it looks pretty good as well. It's probably not as durable as that found on Corsair's keyboards, but it's definitely more comfortable and it's something that I'm quite happy to take over Corsair's offering. Now underneath every single key is not a Cherry MX switch, is not a Kale switch, well it's Razer's bespoke design. It's very similar to Cherry and Kale switches, in fact it may well be manufactured by Cherry or Kale. Razer don't really say where it is made, but you have a choice of orange, green and yellow switches. Green switches are going to be quite tactile, they're quite clicky, whereas the yellow switches are linear and don't have any clickiness at all. Sitting in the middle is the orange switch like we've got here, which is pretty much the same as the Cherry and Kale brown switches, other than the fact that they are a little bit quieter. So they're quite good for typing and they're quite good for gaming, because while they're not clicky, they do have a tactile bump, which means that it's harder to mispress a key and you get some actual feedback on a register of your key. Now looking at the function and media keys of the keyboard, along the left hand side you've got a row of 5 macro keys, and these can be assigned to macros or to open a program or pretty much do anything like that through Razer's Synapse software. Along the top you've got your F keys that double up as function keys, so you can simply hold down the function key and then activate the function that you want, so whether it's a media key like play, pause, skip, turning the volume up and down or something like that. But it's a shame that there isn't any dedicated media keys or a volume roller, as this is something I really like about Corsair's keyboards, and of course the ROG Claymore also has a volume roller. So I do feel that you're a little bit shortchanged here, but it's one of those things you can easily get used to, but it's something that I would like to see revised on a future model. Otherwise, it's probably time to talk about the RGB lighting of this Chroma keyboard, which is generally speaking pretty good. The colours are bright, there's plenty of effects to choose from. It's all controlled through Razer Synapse, and this is one of the best bits of software on the market. It's been around for a long time, you can tell this because it's very easy to use, with the functionality being very clearly laid out. The RGB lighting, it's a little bit dark along the bottom row of keys. I am being very nitpicky here, but it's noticeably brighter on the other keys than it is underneath the bottom set of keys. And there are a few hotspots, so above the shift key for instance, you can see that there is a hotspot of RGB lighting shining through. It's not really a big deal, but I would say that the K95 does have a better RGB lighting. Now, moving on to the performance of the keyboard in terms of typing, well, the orange switch I found to be really good. And I would actually say I almost prefer it over Cherry MX Browns because it is a little bit quieter, so if you are working in a house with other people or in an office, then it is going to benefit them as well. You do get that slight tactile bump, and I would say that it's less noticeable than on a Cherry MX Brown, but it is of course more noticeable than on a linear switch such as a Cherry MX Red or the yellow switch in terms of Razer switches, and I found that it was really easy to get a lot of work done, and overall I was very happy with the typing experience. Playing something like Gears of War relies heavily on the keyboard because of course you're hammering that spacebar all the time, and I found that it does genuinely help a little bit in making your gameplay a little bit more fluid. It's not life-changing, it's not game-changing, but it's definitely a nice luxury to have, and I would say that even in games like Battlefield 1, quickly, say, crouching or quickly activating I was going to say an ability then, in Battlefield 1, of course not, quickly changing weapon or something like that, it does help a little bit because it's more quick, it's more snappy, and going back to a membrane keyboard does feel a little bit spongy. So in terms of performance, not really that much I can fault. But looking at the keyboard overall, I wouldn't say it's necessarily class leading in any of the fields. It's a very good all-round keyboard. The RGB lighting is good. If you have other RGB peripherals from Razer, you can sync them up as well. So if you have a headset or if you have a mouse that you want to sync up, you can have them all get glowing the same effect at the same time. And if you want something that has macro keys, a bank of 5 macro keys along the left hand side, then it is cheaper than the K95, which would make it a very good option for you. But if you don't really mind about those things, you just want to spend a lot of money and you maybe want the absolute best keyboard out there, I still personally prefer the Corsair K95 Platinum, but that is around about £30–40 more expensive because it's got an aluminium build quality, it's got those dedicated media functions, and then the RGB lighting is maybe slightly brighter and slightly more consistent, at least to my eyes. But if you do want to save yourself a bit of money, I actually really like the Cooler Master Master Keys series, because at the time of filming you could get the Master Keys Pro L RGB for around about £100. So that's what, £60 cheaper than this keyboard? Which for a lot of people is definitely going to be worth doing, but the software there is nowhere near as good. Razer definitely have produced something much better there. So there you go. Hope that's been useful for you. Let me know what you thought of this review. Is this a keyboard that you think is better than the rest? Do you think I'm missing something out? Do let me know down in the comment section below. Don't forget to check out those reviews though of the K95 and the ROG Claymore by clicking the I in the top right hand corner. Like this video if you like it, dislike it if you haven't. Thanks to Razer for shipping this review sample out. Thanks to Corsair for sponsoring this channel as always. And subscribe for more videos just like this. Massive thank you, and I'll see you in the next video.